Hello, welcome to our channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. You are the people that make the world go round. We have a very unsettling housing crisis that has sprouted up thanks to the United States government spending money in the wrong direction and not obeying their own laws. We'll talk about the housing crisis that is now slamming Americans, not just the overexpenditure of property taxes, not just the overtaxing of the homes, which is driving so many people out of their homes, but we'll talk about the rest of the housing crisis in a minute. A little bit about a note from our advertiser. Get the tea. If you take a piece of metal and put it in the microwave, it's going to zap, crackle, and pop. Might even destroy the microwave oven. If you put a nickel in there, it might destroy the microwave oven. Microwaves react to metals in a negative way. They're 2.4 hertz. Well, the cell phone now is 2.4 hertz meant to kill you. We could have stayed with 3G, but we went to 4G, and diabetes went from 3% to 40% in people with cell phones. People without cell phones don't have diabetes. Almost one-to-one relationship, maybe 3%. When you put this up next to a nickel, it gets hot. There were 3 cell phones and pieces of popcorn in the middle. It popped the popcorn. When you put this up to your body, it's a microwave. It zaps you. The iron and other metals move out of your cells. They start to spark and sputter, just like the metal does in a microwave. Unlike a poodle. Anyway, that was a joke. A gal actually walked into a restaurant with a poodle. Well, you can read about the poodle in the microwave. But when you put this up to your chest, when you put this up here, not only do about a quarter of the people now can't feel their fingers, their iron in their blood goes up because it knocks it out of the cells. Now, that's the zinc and magnesium and all other metals. But we're going to focus on iron. It knocks the iron out of the cells. And you get a blood test, and they read the iron in your body, and they say your iron's too high, don't use cast iron. Well, what's happening is your cells are getting the iron knocked out of them. So, of course, like when we looked at trees, a tree growing in an area without the correct metals has cancer. So if a tree is growing in Craters of the Moon National Park or somewhere else where it gets very few minerals, it has a form of cancer. Well, what do you think the knocking of the iron does out for the cells? Can't say the big word. We can say Alzheimer's and autism, but we can't say the word cancer. Oh no, absolutely not. Zig Heil. Anyway, sea vegetables are loaded with all the minerals that the cell phone knock out of your body. Now you're beginning to see a connection. If I have all the minerals my body needs, maybe I'll be healthier and feel great and not have to worry about what my grandmother had when she died at 62, the big C. Now you're getting the point. Now this doesn't reverse anything. I'm just saying it has the minerals in it that may just help you when you're using a cell phone and knocking those minerals out of your cells. Anyway, you decide. You are the deciding factor on that. But as for me and my family, we eat a lot of sea vegetables. And Jane's big C went away. Was it related to it? We don't know. It just magically happens over 16,000 times in the last 15 years. But anyway, on to the news. The censorship is increasing. For telling the truth on Truth Social, I've been censored. So Trump himself is censoring me for saving his life. Go figure. And it must be suicidal. And YouTube now is censoring me, the Utah gun range. You don't have a more pro-Second Amendment person than sitting right here in the chair. And yet Utah gun range, YouTube, won't allow me to post a 1-minute video. And when I do post a 1-minute video, it takes them 48 hours to process a 1-minute video. That's beyond insanity. So I'm being censored on a second channel that promotes the Second Amendment. That's beyond insanity. And it's going to get worse. Across the internet, I'm censored. Thanks to the FBI at YouTube. So you can expect that to increase as long as Trump is president because he ain't going to defund the FBI. He doesn't have the guts. And we had our blood pressure taken yesterday, and they put a blood pressure cuff on. Now, if you read a blood pressure, mine's normally 120/80. Sometimes it's 140/90, but normally 120/80. But when you put the cuff on, it reads 160/120, maybe 150/110. Now, why does the cuff read more than the standard taking your blood pressure? So I asked, because it goes automatically to a computer system. There's an automatic. Bingo! His blood pressure is this, and if the doctor doesn't give me blood pressure medication, he may get dinged by Medicare and Medicaid, which is owned, of course, by J.P. Morgan, which is owned by BlackRock. So, why would anybody use a cuff to measure blood pressure if it measures it wrong? Because they're being paid to use it. They're paid extra money to use that cuff. So who makes the cuff? So we tracked down Zinn, who makes the cuff, and who owns the company that makes the blood pressure cuff. Turns out it leads back to BlackRock. Blackstone in one case, which is a subsidiary of BlackRock. Kamala Harris's husband, the biggest stock owner in BlackRock, centered in 50-something New York City. 50 Hudson, New York City, right on the Hudson River. Anyway, using money created out of thin air, they just bought controlling interests in everything. They're run by the CIA. So the people who make the blood pressure cuffs lead back to the same company that make the blood pressure medications. So they create a cuff that artificially raises your blood pressure, and then they have to prescribe you blood pressure medications. They're making money at both ends, lying over here and drugging you over here. So, we checked with the blood sugar meters. Why is it in the military we could go like this? In 1990, 35 years ago, and read our blood sugar, just like that. Oxygen levels, everything else. Caves down to 100 feet, beep, 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 beep. Can't hide them on the border. But nobody can use those meters today. We've got to poke ourselves. Because the same people that make those poke yourself meters and artificially read a higher blood sugar level make insulin. So you go out and you eat some broccoli that had some turgitol sprayed in it. So your blood sugar, you eat nothing but vegetables, but your blood sugar level reads 300 because you had a little bit too much broccoli, which has turgitol on it, which is a chemical that helps agricultural products. It's a soap. Shorts out the meter. But if you go like this, your blood sugar reading 120. But if you use a pokey meter, it shorts the pokey meter out, and now you've got artificially high blood sugar, which automatically goes to the computer, so the doctor automatically assigns you a antipsychotic drug like metformin or insulin, so you get fatter and fatter and fatter, because insulin makes you fat. So the people that make the insulin make the pokey blood sugar machines. But it gets worse. The American Medical Association sets the standards. So it used to be an A1C of 7.5 was borderline diabetes. Now an A1C of 6.0 is borderline diabetes. Why? Because then they can give you insulin. You can get fatter and fatter and more insulin and more insulin and more insulin. There's a lot of ingredients that make you do that. So anyway, we have a national socialist medical community because Medicare, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, blah, 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 is all owned by J.P. Morgan, which is owned by BlackRock. BlackRock gives money to people like Kamala Harris. Sorry, they're still spraying us with stuff. And I can't get Trump to stop killing Americans. So all he has to do is tell Hegseth to order the 55th and 60th Air Wing to stand down. Duh, that's really hard, President Trump, Donald Trump. Donald John Trump, it's really hard to order the 55th Air Wing to stand down, isn't it? So he must want us to be sprayed to be killed. So it turns out that the funding for the American Medical Association comes from political parties which are funded by BlackRock. So BlackRock lowers the standards and sells you drugs. Now, the companies that grow canola oil, which shuts down your liver and makes you fat, the companies that manufacture MSG, which shuts down your brain, and then you feel hungry. And the manufacturer of ding dong 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 ding dong junk foods, whatever you want to call them, are all owned by BlackRock. So they produce junk food, which makes you fat. They produce canola oil, which makes you fat. They read your blood sugar is too high, so you got to get on insulin to get fat. And they read your blood pressure is too high, so you got to get on statins to make you mad. So you're angry and fat. It's hooked on their drugs. It's called National Socialism. Nazism. Now, on to the housing crisis. The government has allowed BlackRock to absorb all of these companies in violation of the anti-monopoly law. It rests directly on Trump's shoulders. America getting fatter and drugged out rests directly on Trump's shoulders. He must break up BlackRock, but he doesn't have the guts. So, Scott Bessent of the Housing Authority said of labor, declared a national Treasury Secretary. Sorry, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, the one who's selling the Federal Reserve System $600 billion in fake bonds to fund the United States to create hyperinflation and get people put out of their homes. Scott Bessent is clueless about what's going on. You see, the CIA and China have been buying up homes for a long time. You all get these calls. I get 3 or 4 a day. I'm going to buy your home. Get on Medicare. Get on Medi-Cal. BlackRock sponsors it all. So they buy up homes and then they rent them back to people. Now, many times the CIA has gone into a small community with 300 homes and bought 250 of the homes because the town is dying. Gone in with a bulldozer and bulldozed the town down. So there goes 250 housing units. This started about 10 years ago. BlackRock and the CIA, Larry Fink, the Jews, only they're not Jews, they're Satanists, but he claims to be a Jew. He's not Jewish. He worships Lucifer. I get letters from Lucifer. I showed my neighbor that. He says, oh my God, you get letters from the devil. Yes, I do. I know who they're going to kill, and I broadcast it, and we try to save their lives. People like the ungrateful Trump. Ungrateful. Big oaf Trump. Ungrateful. So, the CIA buys the homes and either tears them down or rents them. Now, who do they rent them to? Duke University did a study. One of the most libtard, satanic organizations with lots of human sacrificing satanic priests on their staff. They did a study and said the housing crisis has been created by low-income housing. They rent to illegal aliens. So the entire homeless population is skyrocketing for 2 reasons. The federal government is paying the city $10,000 a month per homeless, $120,000 per year per homeless person. So the city owners take that money and order that the homeless not be arrested. So they're destroying the cities. And if you fight them, the city will put you in jail. That's created by the federal government, Donald Trump, spending money on the homeless industrial complex. That's on Donald Trump's shoulders. Oh, and they're going to have a government funding crisis at the end of September. Well, only about 8 agencies get their funding at that particular time. So this whole thing is a farce. What happened to the big, beautiful bill that was supposed to fund the government? Yeah, it funds a lot of the departments, but several of the departments. And the defense bill passed. So there's about 6 agencies that won't get paid. So, of course, the Democrats are going to say, we'll cut off Social Security and the disabled vet. We'll cut off all the elderly people for money. Well, Social Security isn't funded on that date, you morons. Anyway, so the BlackRock takes those homes because they're the CIA and Trump's too cowardly to break up BlackRock. Even though it's right near his building, you could walk in there and break them up. Anyway, so he doesn't have the guts. So they rent these houses out to low income. And then along comes the city, like Salishan. A couple thousand units. They keep them painted, gardened, and they're all driving brand new cars, getting $8,000 a month. So they're in free housing paid for with the Social Security you pay out of your paycheck. 15% of your paycheck goes to, not to the older people, but mostly to illegal aliens. So then they spent about $500 million in the city of your Social Security money and other money from the government, federal government, your taxpayer dollars, to buy 500 homes that cost $500 million apiece and give them to illegal aliens and a few black minorities. Because I've actually run into one black man who got a home given to him. He was in low-income housing, and he was there for 3 years, so they gave him the home. Using your Social Security money. So your parents are going to get a 1% raise, while the people who are getting $8,000 a month are going to get a 6% raise, and they'll be up to $84.50 on the 1st of January, while your parents getting 1% raise will have more money taken out for Medicare, so they'll actually lose 5%. You see, the idea is to kill the older Americans, human sacrifices. If you think I'm wrong, go talk to these people. I get the letter from the devil. I know what he's up to. He wants you dead. It's that simple. It's that simple. Talk to the leaders of the corporations. They can't get from here to my neighbor's house with me. They're so demon-possessed. Nor can the pastors of large churches. Nor can the chief bishop on Fort Lewis. Anyway, so the government solution says, well, Scott Bezant said, we'll just lower interest rates by 0.5%. Tell everybody the housing market's doing well. It's not doing well. The CIA is still renting to illegal aliens. So what does Trump say? We're going to stop renting to illegal aliens. Really? Not one person's moved out of Salishan since Trump took office. Not one. It's all smoke and mirrors. He speaks out of here and does nothing. He's no arrest Trump. A court challenges his tariffs, and now he has to take it to the Supreme Court. Why? Because he doesn't have the guts under United States Code 18 to arrest that judge for violation of United States Code 18. He doesn't have the guts. And yet the president runs the Department of Homeland Security. It's the only department under United States Code 5, Section 101 through 105 that the president runs. He does not run any other agency or department. Anyway, this was created by the CIA, and I don't think he's got the guts to stop it. And he hasn't kicked one illegal alien out of low-income housing. Not one. It's been 200 days. We'll see what he does in the next few hundred days. God bless. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.